frame's covered with bees. If you open that up and only half of it's covered with bees and the other half's still empty, you don't want to add your next box yet. You want to wait until they're all covered with bees. They're really crowded in there, and then you can add your second box on. And then also you do that for your third box. I always feed first and second box. My third box, I will feed them until they get wax drawn out, and then I stop feeding them on that third box. Then at that point, I want them to go out and collect nectar and bring that back, because I don't want to harvest sugar water. I want to harvest nectar from flowers. And so, but you know, it's best to get them as much wax as you can before you start letting them do that. Okay. Put the hive back together, close it up, and you're good to go. This is showing the feeder. This feeder has just a wood stick in it. They make ladders that go down in there, or you can just put a stick that floats. You just need something for the bees to get on in case they fall in. They can climb up and clean themselves off and not drown in there. You will get bees drowned. It's just part of it. They fall in and they drown. You just got to be careful. You don't want too many.
You probably covered this. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Is there a certain kind of sugar?
You want to use
sugar to water. I mean, is there?
Yes, you want to use CNH or pure cane sugar. Okay. They don't recommend using beet sugars or anything that isn't pure cane. A lot of sugars are so highly processed that anything beneficial is taken completely out of it. And so pure cane is the best nutritional value for it.
I'm just wondering, with the nectar water, do they get lazy where they won't go out and find nectar, or do they kind of do both? Or?
They do both. But yeah, some people are worried about them getting, lazy and not going out, but you just stop feeding them and then they'll have to figure it out sooner or later. But it's best to have them, if it's close, they can draw that wax out and it's a lot less work for them. Bees only live 28 days, and so they really don't get into a lazy pattern to where because there's always a new set of bees coming up to take their place. So, but yeah, the CNH or high fructose corn syrup, so we carry that. Every once in a while we'll have some of that, but you can come by. That works really well. That's what commercial beekeepers use, is high fructose corn syrup. It makes your bees really hyper, which they work really fast. It makes your kids really hyper too. I noticed that when I use the high fructose corn syrup with some additives in it, that my bees do really well off of it. Also with the CNH or the pure cane sugars, I recommend using what's called Honeybee Healthy in there, which is a mixture of some essential oils that you can put in. It helps with the health of them, and it's also a feeding stimulant. Gets them going. In the spring, we like to have you add a product called Nose of It or Fumagillin B, which treats for dysentery that the bees can get. That's on your second year. Packages, you won't need to deal with that much. But
Do you sell that stuff here?
yes, we sell all that here.
What did you call that?
What?
What's the name of that stuff?
Fumagillin B or Deseret Healthy. Fumagillin B is a chemical that they've been using forever. Deseret Healthy is a product we make here, which is some essential oils. It's all natural. We got the recipe from some commercial beekeepers. The main product out on the market is called Honeybee Healthy. And it's kind of a copy of Honeybee Healthy is what it is. But next, honey and other good stuff. So who's in it to collect honey? Everybody? Okay. Some people just want bees just for pollination purposes, and that's great. You can do that. You will get honey though sooner or later, and that you can do stuff with. There's lots of different things, but harvesting is one of the most exciting times in beekeeping. It's really a busy time. So in the fall, you're going to want to set some time aside to harvest. I don't recommend leaving the honey in the frames too long, because the honey can't crystallize inside the frame, and then it's impossible to get out. So it's best if you pull it off. Usually around October is when we do harvesting. Pull that honey off, come and harvest it as soon as possible.
Do the bees eat crystallized honey?
They will still eat it, yeah. So they'll eat it. It doesn't matter. They don't care what it is, but it just makes it impossible for you to get out of the frame. Honey is different. Every batch of honey will be different. Some of it will crystallize in weeks. Some of it takes years. Some honey doesn't ever crystallize. The Tupelo honey, they say, doesn't crystallize. But they found honey in the Egyptian pyramids over 3,000 years old that was still edible. So it's not bad if it crystallizes. It just needs to be warmed up and it turns back into its liquid form. But you know, you want to get it out of the frames because once it's crystallized in the frames, it's only good for bee food, basically. There is ways to get it, but you're having to destroy the comb and melt it and everything else. But you know, when you go in, you need to make sure that the bees have plenty of honey before you harvest. Okay, so go through, pull your honey off, go through their hive, make sure they have enough. If they don't, supplement some of that you were going to. It's hard to do. I know you want as much honey as you can get. In that first year, it's really tough because sometimes you have to give it all back to the bees. And it's really hard to do when I just want to taste it. But, you know, it's even worse when you go into the spring, you open up the hive and they're all dead because they starved to death. And so it's best, you know, to give the bees all the honey they need, and hopefully you'll get enough that you can have some of your own. 80 to 100 pounds of honey to survive the winter. 1 deep super of honey is what we recommend. And then also on mine, I put what's called a candy board super on there. And we have in October, we have a candy board workshop. You can come here and make them, or just by the park. It's a little super, a little short super. It has 20 pounds of sugar and some essential oils and stuff packed together inside that. Put that on top of the honey super. If they run out of honey for any reason, they have that to go up and start eating. And they can use that for the rest of the winter until it gets warm enough where you can put liquid syrups on. But you can't have a liquid feeder on there all winter long because it's just going to freeze. And then you got a big block of ice sitting on top of your bees, which is going to kill them. So with candy board supers, it's just dry sugar in there. And that works really well. As a beekeeper, you make sure they have enough honey in their hive. Okay, by doing this, help ensure that the bees will have a better time surviving the upcoming winter. After harvesting, you will store the leftover comb for the winter and use it again the next year. So you're going to take and harvest your honey. You'll uncap it. You'll put it in an extractor. You'll spin it, and then you'll have empty comb, which is like that one I have over here. So you'll have the empty comb. You'll take this, put it back on top of your hive or out on its side out in front of the hives. The bees will come and they will clean every last drop of honey off of there. And they will make it so it's nice and dry and clean. And then you will take that. I recommend you take them after that point, put them in your freezer. You can do it 1 frame at a time if you don't have a big freezer. If you can put the whole box, it's great. Freeze it for a couple days. And what you're doing there is you're killing any wax moth larvae or eggs that are in there. If you don't, you're going to go out in the spring, you'll open up your box, and the wax moth will have destroyed all your comb. So you want to basically freeze it. Then I take it out of the freezer, stick it right into a black garbage bag, seal it up, stack it out, and usually in my shed, somewhere where it'll stay cool over the winter. It's really bad when you open it up and the wax moth has destroyed everything, because then it's basically worthless. But what you want to do is be able to use this again the next year. If you have it, the bees don't have to build it all, and so they're just storing honey in it. So you get a lot more honey that second year than the first year because you've got all the drawn out wax already. They recommend every 3 to 5 years rotating the wax, scraping it off, and cleaning it, using it for something else and starting over. But you just do that a little at a time just to get it out of there. It will get really dark, but the wax stores a lot of impurities, pesticides and stuff in that wax. They just want you to rotate it out so you don't get too much of that in your hive.
How long did you say to put those in the freezer?
Just a day or 2. You just want to kill off any of that wax moth larvae that's in there. Everybody will have wax moth. It's a horrible pest, but if it's in there during the summer of the bees, if there's enough bees, they kill all the larvae and take control of it. If you have a weak hive, the wax moth will take over and destroy the hive, and then the bees don't have anywhere to lay, and it usually kills off all the bees.